Welcome to the podcast, Ashley. It is absolutely brilliant to have you on as part of this celebration week of having male guests as now part of the podcast.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and an absolute honour to be here to support what your mission is and what your journey is.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all my guests. What is your money story?
Oh, so what would you say? Where would you like me to start? Would it be my personal, my career? Like where do you want me to go back to?
Well, when you think of your money story, I would imagine it starts from a personal point, and I suspect it probably starts in your childhood because that's where it starts for the majority of us. So why not start there?
Okay, look, I'll breeze through the younger life of the personal life, but when growing up, I grew up in an area which was a nice area, but there was a divide, and I had friends that lived in a whole different world that I lived in, and I think that's what gave me a lot of motivation because I used to see the way they lived, the presents they got, because as you're young, it's what did you get for your birthday? When people are unwrapping brand new cars off showroom floors and like not undermining what my parents gave me because they gave me a lot. And as a kid, you do make them comparables. And I was obsessed with how some people in life had everything. When I say everything, which I'm going to go into and I'm going to change because of what I thought everything was until about 5 to 7 years into my business journey. What I thought everything was loads of money, loads of cars, big houses, holiday homes. Like I thought that is it, they've cracked life. And guess what? That's all I wanted. When I was that age, I was like, how do I do it? And when I'm working weekends, cutting grass, when I'm painting and decorating for £15 a day, and people can ask their mum and dad for it. Like I had this desire of like, someone once said to me, was like, look, you're going to have so much experience in life and education on how to be a hustler, how to make a pound note. And it's very, very imperative to anyone's life to know how to do business, make money. Like, and I will go into the story of why I don't say it's number one anymore, but it's a contributing factor to number one, because what I did, I got so obsessed and I had nothing to lose. Like I was earning £15 a weekend and I had nothing to lose. So I just went on a mission to hunt out what people was doing. And in my local area, it was 45 minutes from the city. And you used to see everyone was a broker, or if you worked in London, it was a place of opportunity. So what I did was just end up hitting people, like just going in direct, like, what do you do? Can I get a job? Like so much refusal of like, you ain't coming in this world. It was like you had to get a pass to get up into the city. When I was trying to get up there now, I know it's changed a lot and it's a lot more stricter than it used to be. I know that one for sure. But on that journey of asking people to get into London, because that's what I looked at it as like this, wow, they've got this fabulous life. If you work in London, you've cracked it. And yeah, so before that, while I was on that journey of just trying to get up there, I remember I took a job in a retail store. Was only there for 2 weeks. I think I fell asleep in the shoe storeroom because it was just not ticking any boxes for me. But I needed some cash flow as I was getting to that age of like, I need to go out. My friends are all going out. I need to find a way to buy a car. And in that process, I was consistently finding out what people did. And I remember sitting there having a conversation with someone who had a brand new Porsche. Like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? And I remember even looking down into his change thing in his door, and there was just so many pound coins. I don't even know why. It just seemed like he had, for some unknown reason, the smile on his face, the clothes he was wearing. And I was like in awe. Like, if there was an ego to this person, he shone like what a little boy's dream looked like. So he told me everything I need to do. He said, you need to get up to the city and knock on every door. So on that journey, I was going to find all the brokerage houses, all the trading floors, all the asset management companies, and consistently knocking on doors. I was just knocking on doors, blagging my way through. So just to give you an example, I'd research the HR manager's name. And I remember this so vividly because I didn't have the confidence as I did now, but I had nothing to lose. And I don't think a lot of people have a lot to lose when they're on their way up. And I'm going to go into that deeper because my life went from 0 to 100 very quickly. And that come back to studying people that were doing well. So I knocked on this door. I remember walking into this building, getting in the lift, practicing the name that I was meant to be asking for, even though I didn't have a meeting. I walked into reception. I was like, hello there, I'm here to meet so-and-so, which the person I was meant to meet didn't look like the picture that was on the website. So I'm like, and they're like obviously looking at me like, oh, hello. Like, and they're like, let me see if she's available. It was the person I was speaking to. She'd obviously changed. And I said, yeah, and I'm here for, it must have been like a 12 o'clock. She's like, okay, no worries. She's like, oh, follow me anyway. She was like, sit down. And I was like, okay. She's like, who are you then? I'm the person you're telling me that you've got a meeting with. And I was like, okay. Now my body's just rushed with blood because I'm like, wow, I've just been blagging my way to her. And it was the person I was speaking to. And I said, look, give me a job. Don't pay me. Just let me get my foot in the door. And she was just like, I've got nothing for you. Like, but she was like, I love what you're doing. Da, da, da. I sat and spoke to her. And I remember like I was a bit deflated every day. I would knock on 20 to 30 doors a day to try and get a job up in the city. And I remember on the way home, my phone rang and I'd left my number. So I was always excited. And she was like, oh, hello, like, I want you to come and see me again tomorrow. And this woman created me a job. Ooh. And the job was, she was like, the job is to open people's mail and put it on their desk. If they need a tea or coffee, would you run and get it? If they need their lunch, would you run and get it? And she said, I can't stop thinking about the tenacity, the confidence that you come in my room and I'm making you a job. I'm going to make you a job. And I said, oh, thank you. And I said, I will stick to my word. I don't need paying. She was like, let me pay for your travel, please. And I said, okay. Which in return, at the time, she paid me, but she made out I didn't. She was obviously just testing, was I open and up for the opportunity and was going to back what I said. And I remember starting there, a bit deflated again because I thought, oh, no, I'm really not going to earn no money at the end of the month. And it weren't ticking all the boxes, but I'll give it a go. And I always say consistency is key. Persistence will always win in the end. And I remember sitting down at the end of the month. I don't know how well you can get marked at opening envelopes and putting it on people's desks and going to get food, going to get their coffees and teas. I don't know how you give an appraisal or if you do pass probation on opening letters. And from there, so I was a postboy for a trading floor. So basically the traders and the brokers had the luxury of me being their runner. But what I did was I remember going to speak to someone who'd been in the city. They was like, you need to be utilizing this. You're rubbing shoulders with the right people. And this was when I got told a quote that I will live with for the rest of my day. If you can't get a seat at the table, serve water. Like, because if you're around and rubbing shoulders with the people that you need to be with, like some people's ego and pride couldn't do that role. But like my life has been a reflection that if I don't get a seat at the table, serve water. And it has opened doors that could never have been imagined in my life. But let's just fast forward a little bit now. So I was a postboy for 3 months. Done very, very well. I opened them letters like no tomorrow.
The expert letter opener.
I used to ring ahead of their food orders and drinks to make sure they was ready. I was even efficient at that. And within 3 months, they was like, it's time to give you a real position here. Like, I was like, a real position? There was like, we made yours up. And I'm like, okay, no worries. So from there, I went in, learned the back office, how things are done. Then I had an opportunity to progress into becoming a broker. And literally, like, I was like a rabbit in headlights. But they was like, look, you've got to understand, to take this role, you're going to take a real big pay cut in salary, but your commissions and bonuses don't come near to, it will be well more than what you're earning. I remember going home to my mum, my dad, and I was like, I've been offered a new role. And they're like, okay, what's this? And I'm like, yeah, but the salary's a lot less. How's that a increase? And if you know how a lot of these wealth managers, brokers work, there's always a commission involved into getting them involved, but you take the risk. And I think when you're presented with opportunity, like, timing will never feel right. Like, that's what people need to understand. Timing will never, ever feel right. And when you understand that concept, like, there's never going to be a right time. Like, just do it. Like, if an opportunity presents itself, like, you start moving and building momentum in a direction, it will take you. If you're doing everything you can, you should trust the process. Like, a lot of people can be a bit woohoo, which I'm a big advocate of, law of attraction and things like that. But what I'm saying is, people seem to try to manifest things, try to just trust the process with no action. I'm the biggest action taker you'll see. And sometimes it's led me down paths that have left me in such a bad way. But what happened from there, I got the role. Within 18 months, I was table manager. Within the following 6 months, I was like overseeing the whole floor. And then within like the 4-year period, I was like heading up an 80-man team. I was the youngest person. Because the thing is, you couldn't, like I was in before everyone. I performed higher than everyone. I invested in myself. And it's like, I know there's a lot of coaches, mentors and things like that preach about investing in you. Like, I targeted the people where I wanted to be. And I said, how do I get where you are? And they was educating me. This is what you need to do. Don't come back until you've done this. Like, I was a sponge to life. So you got to understand that I had nothing to lose, everything to gain. So I was just a sponge. And within that period, it's not a lie, and it's not unheard of. There's a lifestyle that comes with working in London and earning very well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it doesn't sicken me when I look back at how much I used to spend on a monthly basis on my party life, my drinking life. But it come to a point where my wife now with family and that had threatened to leave multiple times. I done some stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, in the fact of the way the party life takes you, which is not hard to put two and two together when you put what goes on in London. And I remember earning more money than I knew what to do with. Like, when I say that, it was ridiculous. But it took me down a path of a party life, a second life that was damaging my mental health. And it was only that one day when I came in, I think 3-4 in the morning, and realised that, that my wife was not wanting to be with me, which I wouldn't have wanted to be with me. I had an ego bigger than myself. Like, I had an ego so big that, like, no one could have squashed it. I chucked money at everything, thought money solved everything, thought money made you happy. And okay, like, I wasn't what some people call success now, but incomparable to what was going on at my age, I had everything in the palm of my hands.
Yeah.
And
no experience on how to manage that, essentially, no maturity on how to manage that.
I didn't know how to keep it.
Yeah.
Did not know how to keep it. And that is what I found in life. Is really easy to make money. Sustaining it and keeping it is a whole different thing.
Absolutely.
But I had the flash cars, the watches, the clothes. My wife got treated like no tomorrow. More sympathy gifts because I've been such a twat. I don't know what words I can say. And one day it took a real bad toll on my mental health. And anyone that parties 5 days a week, recovers for 2, and then does it again for a year will understand the cycle I was living in. And one day I walked in, said, I'm done, I'm out. Like, I'm done, I'm gone. I can't do this no more. As much as I was earning very well, successful in my age, my career, the position I was in, I was like, I can't do it no more. Yeah. I cannot do it no more. And so I left the city with some money. So I had money. I said, that's it, I'm out. I'm literally gone. And this is where it got really exciting and then went horribly wrong. So
can I pause you there for one moment?
Yep.
Before we kind of go forward from this point, can I explore one thing? Because what's really evident in everything that you have said is that, you know, when you were younger, you could have gone one of two ways to a certain extent. You could have looked at those that you considered at that point in time that had more than you had,
yeah.
And you accepted that you were going to have a different journey to them. Or you could do as you did and have that, what looks very much on the surface like real self-confidence, even though you said you weren't very confident at that age, yeah. But it looked like real self-confidence and tenacity to go knocking on a large number of doors every day, taking those knockbacks to get the opportunity you eventually got. What was it that drove you to keep knocking on those doors to begin with, even though you were getting knocked back?
It was a very, very clever way of the person who sent me to London. So they was like, in the world of life and business, you're going to be consistently told no. And I said, yeah. And they said, the only way to get to a yes is by flying through as many no's as possible.
Oh, yeah.
So in that space of, as much as it was deflating and disheartening, this person's head was in my head saying, you're one step closer, you're one step closer. And I sort of carried that through life. Like if something doesn't happen to me, or a door closes in my face and a route doesn't plan out like I wanted to, like something goes horribly wrong. Anyone who works in my circle, I'm just like, just wait, something better's coming. I know it is. I don't know if I just sort of like, you could say manifest it or whatever, but I'm like, something better is coming. It's the way the flip of my mind works. Like I've been down and out and it achieved nothing. I've been on the flip side because it's hard to stay positive all the time, like when you get a lot of challenges, but I sort of train my brain. Like when I know it's being challenged, or if I know I feel like I want to react, like I've done a lot of work on my emotional intelligence. So I believe that I need to understand. I like to learn. If someone triggers me, yeah, I'm like love the education part of it. Like, why did that bother me? Like, why? And then it's like you walk into the same scenario, because life is full of the same scenarios dressed as different clothes, and new levels, new devils. And I think, like, if something's made me angry, sad, I'm like, I used to be one that would run away from the problems, and now it's like, what is my body telling me? Why am I feeling this way? And then once I've educated myself on that, when them situations come again at me, I'm like, really? Like, and like I it's like, I just think if the quicker you can find a solution and the lesson with any problem or any challenge you face, the happier you'll be in life. I just think it is. It's like, but like I talk like I've had this under wraps. Like, please understand. Like, like I've had an uphill paper around my whole life. Like everyone says it. When I tell people my age, they're like, stop lying. You can't get away with that no more. And I'm like, no, that is my age. And yeah, so that was the journey in the city life I had.
So you decided enough was enough. You had the kind of the burnout from, you know, from being a trader. You decided to leave the city. What happened next?
What happened next? So I'm around 24, 25. So from the age of 19 to 24, I've gone a lot higher and faster than I expected. And it's like one of them things in London. If you've got the gift of the gab, and you can normally fly through if you've got the right mindset to match it. And the training they used to give you on personal development, sales training, and business development training, and leadership training was second to none. Like, I've never seen something match it, which just made you a resilient person. But so it was the nightlife, the party life that was taking a toll on me. Like, I look back at pictures thinking that I was in the most best place of my life. I had 2 cars, thinking I was something I didn't need. I had lovely clothes, lovely watches, loads of holidays, like, and that was the realization of, like, money alone will not make you happy. Like, money alone. I'm not saying money will not make you happy, but money alone money's a contributing factor. So it's not like money doesn't make you happy. No, it does, but it needs to come with other factors.
It's a facilitator.
Yeah. And so I would never say, oh, money doesn't make you happy, because it sure alleviates a lot of pressure and stress in life.
Yeah.
And so I'm now thinking I'm, let's say, Alan Sugar. I've got a bit of money. I've got an ego so big still, even though I was down and I got past it. The pressure, the pressure you used to receive working in London, it was like beyond no other. But I've still got this ego. Like, this ego is like pumping. So I've watched something. I think I've done a seminar, and it was like, you need 7 sources of income to be successful. So with the money that I had around me, my expertise, I took shareholdings in businesses. I took shares in businesses. I invested in businesses. The last one before it all went sort of wrong was a nightclub. But guess what that nightclub done to my ego? Was stroking my ego like no tomorrow. Like, and I always, when I feel someone's ego, I'm like, oh no, like, because what happens is you move with the wrong intentions. Mm-hmm. And this is why I would always move with the right intentions now, because what happened was, I remember I had a sales training business, I had a little recruitment business, I had a lead generation business, I had a marketing agency, part of a nightclub. I had my fingers everywhere. And guess what? It all stopped working. Things stopped working. But I didn't have the I don't know, my ego wouldn't let me ask for help. I'd been a show off all my life. I knew people were probably happy to see what happened to me, but that's okay as well. I probably deserved what came to me, but like, it all went crashing down. Like, that's.
And why was that?
Because I couldn't reach out and ask for help, because my ego had not allowed me and made me mask everything. I was sticking plasters over cracked walls. Right. I mean, them little tiny plasters. And what happened was, with the ventures I was in, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and all of a sudden I didn't even let my wife in. It was like I was walking around with my sock falling off inside my shoe, acting like everything was okay, and it really, really wasn't. And then I think,
and is that partly because, do you think, you know, as entrepreneurs, particularly I think when we've been in, you know, a corporate role, when we've been in an institution and then moved out of an institution, and obviously in an institution you have people that do the marketing, people that do the sales, people that do the product development, etc., etc. But when you actually move into an entrepreneurial role, to begin with, you have to do it all. And it's almost as though you can't admit to yourself, I'm not actually brilliant at it all. I'm good at what I'm good at, but actually there's going to be some bits I'm crap at. And therefore asking for that help and that's a really good reflection you've made there, that asking for help sometimes is admitting to yourself, shit, I'm not good at it, everything. I've got to have help in this area because I'm not an expert at it. Do you think that's what happened to you?
It's spot on what happened to me.
Right.
You couldn't. I was very good at drumming up new business, very good at getting businesses off the ground, traction, and put me in an operation, I would explode. I don't want to look at that. Like I don't like. I everything around me is to support me. Like not in a way of like it's like, where do I fall short? Yeah, I was very good at that. I wasn't a business owner. I wasn't an entrepreneur, and thought if I jump in head first and build my wings on the way down, it might work. And I didn't have enough time to build the wings before it all. I had gone down to. I was in my garage. I used to buy some expensive, pointless things because that's who I was at the time. And I remember I'd be sticking it on eBay. I would be trying to make money, hiding this from everybody, because they're like, oh, look at him, he's doing so well. Da, 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 da. Like, oh, I don't really need 2 cars no more. I just wanted one. No, that wasn't the case. Like people actually knew. And then I remember just coming home, standing outside my front door, thinking, how do I tell my wife now that we've got to move? How do I tell her this? How do I tell her? Because she doesn't know. Like she's living life, and like I sat there, and she knew something was up. I didn't say anything, and I remember just bursting into tears, like crying. I was sobbing because I'd lived a lie of the fact of that everything was okay. And I think a lot of people do this.
Yeah.
A lot of people do this. And this is why the Winners Club was actually born as well. And I'll go into that softly. But I remember sitting there in the bungalow, knowing that was going up and we was going, because it was either register for bankruptcy or go back to zero. And I thought, I'm going to go back to zero. Like I'm 26, I'm 27. I can do this again. I can rebuild this again. And yeah, now I remember just sitting there, like I couldn't even talk because I was getting quizzed by my so-called wife, not she wasn't wife at the time, but like, where's this come from? Because I just hit her on the spot. And I remember we had a nice dressing room at the time, and she went in there and she was like, you've got a suit ironed, a shirt ironed, your shoes, your belt, your pants, your socks. She's like, you've done it before, go get it again. And it gives me goosebumps because I remember thinking that I was going to lose her because I'd lost everything else. And I probably didn't show her love because I was
wrapped up in you.
Yeah.
And the situation you were in. Yeah.
Yes. And I thought everyone's going to leave me. She didn't. She's gone for a ride. When I tell you she's gone for a ride, she has been through it all. And then probably I had about a month off to myself. I cried, sulked, and I think I needed to, not in a way of go away from me. I think the feel sorry for me phase. Like I wouldn't, now I'm more emotionally intelligent. I wouldn't tell people to avoid that. Like lean into it, understand why you're feeling that way. Don't mask it, because that's what I did for so long. Hit the nail on the head, find out what the problem is. If it takes you a day or two, have the day or two. I never had the day or two. I masked it and ended up in a world of bother. Then about, so basically I remember I was in a hole and I was battling all the time just to get out of it. Nothing was working. And my wife's pregnant. She's fallen pregnant. And I'm like, this is not what I wanted to bring a baby into. This is that. And I remember things started to work, but I was in a deep hole, but I could see the light. I could see the way out. And on that, I was with I remember like, I was like, right, now I've got a goal. Now I've got a target. My baby's going to be here in 4 months. I'm doing everything, blood, sweat and tears, and it still wouldn't work. And I remember like her being 1 month old, thinking, why did I have to balls everything up? Like, why did I have to do that? You could have had a life which I'd planned for, and I didn't want to bring it back. That's my personal opinion. I didn't want to bring a baby into a world that was messy at the time. And people say the way I love my kids is like I try very, very hard. Because at one point in my life, that's all I had. All I could give them was love. I couldn't give them anything else. So I even felt bad as a parent. I don't know if you're a parent, like when, and it was like, I'm bringing my daughter into a world which I grew up in, where you had to appreciate the little things. You didn't get the big things. And I thought, that's not what I wanted. That my vision was not to have that. And yeah, she gave me a wire power that was second to none. There's not been a wire power that's got me out of trouble. So I locked myself away, put a desk in my office, rung up my pal, and I said, like, look, let's just build a marketing agency back up. I'm gonna go and do some education. And then I got that back up, got that rolling, went from a garage to a 2-man office to an 8-man office with staff. And and then I got myself out of the hole. As I was getting myself out the hole, I think I was just about to knock on the light out and say, see you later, hole. My brother-in-law goes and commits suicide. And I was like, wow, like literally, like but what I'd done, I had excluded myself from the world. I had time for nobody. And I remember that. And then it was like, so now this has happened. I stepped up. My family didn't want to identify what was going on. And I stepped up, dealt with the whole thing, seeing our life what a short life was. Just coming out of it, my daughter was a wire power. My family that didn't want to go back to work gave me this. It's like turning your pain into fuel is what I would advise anyone to try and do. Like breathe, but turn your pain into fuel, and it will literally like be a rocket. So time passes, I get over that. Marketing agency's up off the ground. I've still got holdings in other businesses which allowed me to say, look, Ash, step away, deal what you got to deal with, come back when you're ready, which thankfully, God bless everyone who helped me out, got me back on my feet, because I was now ready to ask for help. So I'm now up, operating, back out the hole, and just plodding along in life, trying to get to the next level. And at this time round, I wasn't earning nowhere near as much as I was earning, but I don't know, the center of peace that was inside me of, I've got a happy family, I'm healthy, I'm not out there partying every night, I've got a happy home, I've got money, I can provide. Then the Winners Club, Clubhouse come about. So now I'm like, I've got a little spring back in my step. But I've got a spring back in my step with learnings, no ego. My pride's been absolutely shattered. My ego's been absolutely squeezed. People would love probably seeing it, and I don't blame them, because I was such an a-hole. Does that make sense? I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I was such an a-hole. And it was like, I've got this outlook on life of like, I've been darker than dark. Lost my brother-in-law. I've literally I had nothing to lose but to go. I've got a kid that's a baby girl that's looking at me and so proud to see me, that was driving me every day, that it was like Clubhouse came around. And then, as you know, it was like, well, I'm gonna be a ambassador of ask for help. Like, please. Like I got ironed out. I got shot at. I got told to literally like stop doing it. Can I jump in there? People were trying to ruin what I was trying to create. But when I had a purpose bigger than their purpose and an intention bigger than their purpose, they were white noise. Like, this is why I was like pushing, hammering, because it was like, I'd never, ever, ever wish upon anyone the way I felt, ever. And then from that, it was just like people like you showing up every day. And I was like, it could be that one day that could change everything for everyone, because if they knew where I was when I was at my lowest, it's a place that I could not wish upon. I don't have enemies, or I don't not ever not like someone, but I could never wish it upon the worst person in my life. Didn't know where to go, where to look, who to ask for help, because I burnt bridges like no tomorrow because I thought I was untouchable. And I thought there wasn't a place like the Winners Club. So I made a place where people can come, ask for help, ask for support. And it's like, it doesn't really directly impact my businesses. Like, and it's like you ask, like, well, like the purpose. I know why my intentions are, and I know why I'm there. And I think this is what people get confused with on their money journey, on their business journey, is they're not too sure why they're doing it. They're not 100%, or they're lying to themselves. And that's so, like, what I'm saying is, you can be somewhere to generate business. I've got places where I generate business, and that's my intention.
Yeah.
I've got places I go that feed my passion, feed my soul, feed my mission. Like, people need to understand and be true to themselves, because the reason they're not getting traction is because they're so unaligned. They're so, like, their life is not aligned, because I help with business development a lot, and people always go to me like, clients are just not buying. I'm like, humans have an instinct when you are not aligned. Like, you can feel when someone's not coming from a genuine place. Not that they're lying, but they're masking something. And yeah, it brings me to today. And yeah, I've now so I'm now on a mission to make sure business owners, startups, don't ever suffer the pain I went through. Know how to get past barriers. Like, I always say, like, okay, like, I'm not the most ultra successful person that you'd ever see, but like, with financially incomparable to people I know. But like, when you look at the balance of my happiness, capital, family, relationships, health, me personally, like, of course, I want to be uber successful and make a lot of money, because you can always give back. But when it comes down to how you value your success, it's different. I used to value it on cars, holidays, watches, material things. When you realize that they have a lifespan of happiness for 30 seconds, you'll start finding a purpose, so you can reinvest into that. And yeah, I hope that helps you, Lesley, in some way.
Oh my goodness, Ashley! Honestly, I'm in awe here. The questions are ping, 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 pinging. Never have I had to ask so few questions, because a guest has just given so much, voluntarily, basically. So
I don't have it. I used to walk around with a mask. I used to walk around with a shield. Like I'm part of ventures now that do very, very, very well, and I've not always been there. Like, and that's okay as well. Like, and it's like, but it only started to click and work in my life when I was honest with myself.
Yeah, and that seemed to happen very, very quickly once you decided it needed to happen. To have that, to go from being a 24-year-old to a 26-year-old, and to say, you were a prat, basically. You weren't nice to know. You had a massive ego. You were very secretive. You weren't asking for help, etc. It all crashed around you, and then you realize, actually, this isn't working. Me pretending to have the success that I can't achieve on my own. I need to go back to basics. I need to revisit my why, and your little girl coming into the world, giving you that sense of purpose. I know you, of course, through Clubhouse, and my reflection back to you is, I only ever see somebody who wants to help other people. I only see somebody who wants to see other people do good, and what part you can play in helping them on their journey. And the success that you have had in growing the Winners Club, 50,000 plus people, at a time when, you know, Clubhouse was a very, very competitive place to be. It could be very, very easy to be put off from going into rooms and showing up and bringing people with you, because that's what you did. You brought people with you. You encouraged people to be part of your world and part of what you were creating. And from the outside, from, again, my perspective, you did it completely without ego and completely, and possibly some people found this a little bit hard to understand, but completely without any what's in it for me, what am I going to get out of it? And that's phenomenal,
because I knew what I was doing and why I was doing it. And it's like people say, like, it's not about the money and you've got to serve, but like the thing is, the opportunities that, like, I believe in karma, because my days of not being a very nice person come back and hit me in the face like a baseball bat. And like, I believe in planting. You don't plant seeds and eat the fruits the next day. Like, if you keep planting them seeds, like the opportunities that I've had land on my desk, you could say, where have they come from? It's because of the way I move. I move with the right intention, and I move to a place of like I carry a lot of empathy, because I think I can lead. I understand people, I understand what people want. And I think leading with empathy and serving others. If I like if you consistently give, it will just like, it makes a ripple effect, and it will come back round and come and just like repay itself in ways you never see. But if I was moving with a different intention there to sell the crap out of the community, like, okay, we offer stuff in there of ways that we think will be of benefit, like events and things like that. But what I'm saying is, if I'm true to it, it's like my intention here will make a ripple effect around me, and I think you can't fake intentions. You can fill intentions. Like people like I've got people around me and I fully know their intentions, but that's okay as well. Like everything's okay, and this is where people need to move forward in love. Like when someone comes to me and it's like, oh, I don't trust nobody. Like, and I'm like, why? There's energy to not trust nobody. Like, why don't you trust yourself, that you see people well? Like, so it's like, let's just say, for example, like, okay, their intentions are that. Trust them to do things like that. Mm-hmm. Their intentions are like that. Trust people to do things like that. And I think is one thing, it's that people genuinely don't like people to do well. Yep. And so people don't mind people doing well, but never better than them. If you understood that riding on the wave of someone else's success will open doors like never tomorrow. Like, every time one of my business friends does something well, gets a new home, gets a new car, or treats himself, I am the first one to go and see, because I want to know what they're doing. Like, tell me what you're moving, what you're doing. And like, I genuinely am happy for them, because it's like, that's where the positive, the good, the movers, the shakers energy is. Get around that. And there was a part of my life, I'm not heavily faithful. Like, when I'm like, is that the right word? I'm not heavily Christian.
Yeah.
At one point in my life, I had nowhere to turn, and my friend sent me to go and meet someone. He wouldn't tell me who. It was a vicar. And it's like, from there, like, I like to study the way people think. So I've studied other religions, other ways of thinking, and like, there's a saying that like when it's about getting blessed. Like, when someone's getting blessed, make sure you're around the people and genuinely be happy for them, because basically God is in the neighborhood blessing. So you need to be around the people that are being blessed. If you're sitting with the people that are hating and not being blessed, you ain't getting picked. So guess what? When someone's being blessed, like I am around them, like literally their number one fan raving, because it has literally rippled around my life of like, that has happened to me. Like, so like They say like when you, yeah, get around the people that are being blessed. God is in the neighborhood. Get around them people. Get blessed as well. And it does happen. And I think if more people understood that, they would be more happy for people to succeed. And I think, like, I believe I've got a serious work ethic. Like I'm not going to sit there and say you're better than me, but I believe, me personally, it's me against me. My work ethic is second to none. And what was I saying? So my work ethic is, so no one can compare to my work ethic. So it's like, when I look at people doing well, me personally thinks must just not be my time yet. Because literally, like, I believe my work ethic's like stronger than a lot of people that have received success already. And I just say, well, my blessing's on its way. Like, and that's how, when you move like that, I promise you, like, I'm not saying sit there and manifest and don't do nothing about it. Like, I am the biggest action taker, because I think you're either going to win or you're going to learn, but that only comes from restarting at zero. And I think it's like, okay, take me back there. Like, I'm not restarting. I've got wisdom, knowledge, no ego, education of what not to do. But yeah, I hope this helped. Lesley.
That was absolutely tremendous. Everything that you said there is going to resonate with people in my audience without a shadow of a doubt. And I think the tenacity that you have shown, the dedication to self-learning and your own emotional development, and wanting people to not go through what you went through by sharing your journey to here, I think is hugely impactful. So I want to thank you very much for your time. How can people connect with you?
Just come into Clubhouse, come onto LinkedIn, come into Instagram. I'm normally floating around some people that are moving and shaking and happy for each other to win. So find them circles. You'll see me tagging along on their energy. I'll be there.
And all those details will be in the show notes, so people can easily reach out to you. Thank you very much for your time today, Ashley. I've really appreciated it, and I've loved our conversation.